Good evening, multitudes. Art Wright here. And just because I finally released my record, Jerseybraska, you thought you saw the last of me. Well, you haven't. I'm back again, and this time with a new series called The Listening Room. Now, I launched this channel several months ago as a way to promote my new record and also do a series called Nobody Listened, where I talk about my experience over the past 20 years making music that has gone largely ignored. Now, the concept of the listening room, rather than being another music discussion channel, which everybody and their brother, sister, and cousin are doing nowadays, the listening room is going to be a little bit different. This is a place where we're going to listen to and give some love and discuss other unheard works by independent artists, possibly such as yourself, so send me your stuff, or underappreciated or unloved records by major acts that I think deserve a second hearing or deserve your attention. So that is the concept. Without further ado, let's get into episode 1. Here we go.
And this is what we think of the Ramones. We've got to stop her!
Or perhaps I should have said, hey ho, let's go. Because the group that we're going to talk about tonight is a group that's very, very important to me. That is, of course, the Ramones. And the record we're going to talk about is their 5th studio album called End of the Century, and why that one's a little bit different and maybe misunderstood. So conventional wisdom would tell you that the essential Ramones albums that you must own, give me a second, please, are these. The first album, self-titled. This was like an atom bomb dropped on the bland and pompous music of the 70s. The Ramones' Leave Home was the sequel. Basically a second helping of what you got on the first record, but produced a little bit better. Both excellent albums. Then they released Rocket to Russia, the third record, which should have been a huge hit, but these guys just couldn't sell records no matter how they tried. Definitely, I think their best, most consistent record, and one that anybody should have in their collection. It's Alive is the one. This is monumental, historic. This is a live record that has all the best stuff from the first 3 records, faster, louder, and live in front of a crazy English audience on New Year's Eve, 1977, where the next day probably all of them went out and formed a punk band. So a historic document, great live album. It's a good place to start, if you're unfamiliar with the Ramones. And then their 4th record, Road to Ruin, was basically cut in the same vein as the previous records, with some minor differences. The band seemed like they were branching out a little bit. There's a little bit of power pop on here. There's a ballad that almost has a bit of a country twang to it. And there are guitar solos. Now, granted, this is the Ramones, so in the song I Want to Be Sedated, for example, the guitar solo is one note. But it's a guitar solo nonetheless. So is this a sign of growth? Is this a sign of the band getting ready to sell out? For some, the 5th record answers those questions. End of the Century, 1980. Now, if you were familiar with the Ramones up to this point, I mean, they look like a scary street gang from Queens, and, they drew a lot of inspiration from a lot of aggressive and, some would say dangerous music like Iggy and the Stooges, MC5, and the garage rock of the 60s like the Trogs. So there was an element of danger and toughness around the band, but there was also kind of a boyish innocence. And I think a lot of that stemmed from the fact that they were really geeks and nerds in real life, and they were kind of putting up a front. And they loved, old 60s pop music. So if you listen to their records, a lot of the harmonies and hooks, could be traced back to things like the Beach Boys and especially those girl groups like the Crystals and the Ronettes, those great 60s pop teen symphonies that were produced by the famous producer and renowned psychopath Phil Spector. And there was an innocence and a grandiosity about those records that kind of comes through in the Ramones' songwriting. Now, they strip all of that back to the essentials, but what you get at the heart are great pop songs in many cases. So it was almost natural or almost inevitable that the Ramones would end up working with Phil Spector. So they chose Phil to produce this album because they were in bad need of a hit. Like I said before, they just were not selling records. They were really popular over in England, but they couldn't get arrested over in America, kind of where it mattered. And they thought, hey, if anybody could give us a hit record, it must be Phil Spector. Now, on paper, that sounds like a match made in heaven. But for some, there were complaints about this. So I'll address, each of these complaints, but let's get them out on the table. So first and foremost, a lot of people felt that, Phil's overblown, highly echoed, layered production techniques, what he called the wall of sound, sapped the Ramones of their punk energy and just kind of blunted all the edges. And to a certain extent, the people who claim this have a point. It doesn't sound like a Ramones record, but I would argue that it's not supposed to. That's not the concept. What if the Ramones were a 60s pop group that were produced by Phil Spector? What would they sound like? And this record answers that question very well, I think. The other complaint about the record is some people just felt that the songs were not that good. And I disagree with that as well. I mean, there's filler on here, but the filler on this record's no worse than the filler that was on the previous records. And I think a few of these tunes, and we're going to go through them one by one, are among the Ramones' best. So without further ado, then let's check out this album track by track, and hopefully I can convince you, why I think it's a worthwhile listen, and why, if it's a record you don't particularly like or have avoided because of its reputation, that you might reconsider and check it out. So here we go. Now, the album starts with the sound of somebody changing the radio dial, and somebody says something about Jersey lettuce and tomatoes, which of course I appreciate. And then the DJ comes on and says, "This is rock and roll radio. Come on, let's rock and roll with the Ramones." And then those big booming drums come in. Pure Phil Spector. And the organ. Layered guitars. Saxophones. There's a great chant by Joey. Coming right up. I promise. Let's go. This could have been on the soundtrack of Grease if you think about it, but it sets up the concept brilliantly, and it's a great way to start this record. The next song is called "I'm Affected," and here's an example where maybe the production doesn't work out so well. It's a great punky rock song, I think, but listen to the drums. They just kind of take over everything, and everything else is very muffled, even the vocals to a certain extent. Back in the day, a friend of mine was listening to this with me, and he thought that the chorus where Joey says, "I'm affected," was him saying, "I'm a F-word homophobic slur." So I think this is a missed opportunity. The song needs, there he goes, a little more grit, a little bit more edge. But I don't mind that much. I think it's still a pretty damn good song. 3 songs in and we hit the album's masterpiece. This is really the centerpiece of the album in my opinion, and it's the place where the concept, works most brilliantly. It's a song called "Danny Says," and the Danny in question is the band's manager, Danny Fields, and it's a sweet song about being on the road and missing somebody and not being able to surf because you're in Idaho in the middle of winter. So to fight the boredom, you sit around and watch Get Smart on TV. which was one of my favorite shows, so it's a pop culture reference that I really appreciate as well. This song means a lot to me, and like I said, when it kicks in, you feel it. And this is what made those old Phil Spector records so great, and what makes this song great, and why it's just one of my favorite Ramones songs of all times. Now it's picking up. Wait till you hear those drums kick in. It's bliss. Here it comes. Just good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Love it, love it, love it. Now the fourth song is Chinese Rocks. Now, is this a cover song? Well, not really. Dee Dee Ramone wrote this with Richard Hell, and it was originally recorded by the Heartbreakers. Now, the Ramones originally refused to do this song because it was about heroin, you know, something Dee Dee and Richard and the Heartbreakers knew all about. So the Heartbreakers version sounds like what the song's about. It's dark, it's heavy, it's a little slow, as if they were nodding out when they were recording it, which they probably were because they were just a bunch of junkies. But in the hands of the Ramones and Phil Spector, the song's a bop. The chorus is pure Phil Spector, and this is one of those examples where the punk energy of the band is retained, even as, you know, Phil layers on all of his goodness. I think it's a highlight of the record. I think it was a wise choice to include it. And yeah, it could be my second favorite song on the album. So I want to interrupt the show here just for a second to make a clarifying comment. These videos are off the cuff. I don't have time to script or rehearse them. I just let the camera roll. And I think I might have said something just before that was pretty disrespectful to the Heartbreakers, and I felt I should explain. I have a love-hate relationship with those guys. I love them because they were a great rock and roll band, and I've got the albums to prove it. But I hated them because they wore their lifestyle, if you want to call that a lifestyle, like a badge of coolness. And it's not cool. It's irresponsible. Death is no way to live. So here endeth the sermon, and let's get back to tonight's album. Thank you. All right, the next song is called The Return of Jackie and Judy, and it's a sequel to Judy is a Punk, basically, from the first album. So there's some Ramones self-mythologizing on the song, and it's fun. It's a minor song, but I enjoy it. Don't mind it at all. I'm not going to dwell on it. Let's go to the next one. And so we come to the end of side one, and a song called Let's Go, which is another callback to some of the earlier military fantasy songs like Commando that the Ramones had previously done. They watched a lot of war movies as a kid, and it really shows. This one's okay. It's a good punk rock song. I don't mind it. But again, it's a pretty minor song, so I'm going to not dwell on this one too much either. Let's go to the next. So as we turn the record to side two, we come upon the most divisive song perhaps on the record. This is a cover of Baby I Love You, which was a big hit for the Ronettes back in the 60s with Ronnie Spector singing and Phil Spector, of course, producing. So this is a remake, and I love the Ronettes, and so did Joey, and he really tries to do a good job on this. Sings his heart out, and it's very endearing. The problem with the song is that none of the other Ramones appear on it. Phil brought in this whole studio orchestra, let Joey do his thing, while the rest of the guys sat around twiddling their thumbs. And when they had to lip sync this on TV, for the Top of the Pops program, the band must have been hating life, especially Johnny. The other problem with the song is it was released as a single. So if you were the kind of person that would buy a Ramones album, you liked something a little tougher and harder than this, and if this was your first impression of the record, you might be inclined not to buy it. So I think it was problematic in that way, even though I think they had to do something like this for this record to fulfill the concept. So I can't hate on it. God bless Joey. He does a great job here. So the next song on the record is called I Can't Make It on Time, and it's a hidden gem of the album. Could be my third favorite song on the record, but it's not the kind of song that anybody will ever mention as a top Ramones song. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I love it. It's punchy, it's simple, it's got those great 60s harmonies, and I think the Phil Spector production on this really does wonders for the song. So kudos on this one. I really like it a lot. Now the third song on side 2 is called This Ain't Havana. And Dee Ramones famously said that some of the worst shit I ever wrote went on this album. And he was probably talking about a song like this, because if you read the lyric sheet, it's completely ridiculous. But it's a testament to Dee's talent that even when he wasn't trying very hard, he could come up with something that was very, very catchy and very amusing. And this ain't Havana. Do you like bananas? Ba 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 da da. It's great. Yeah, it's fun. You know, what more could you ask for? And I think Phil Spector, who occasionally overdoes the drum production and makes it sound like an artillery attack, I think it works on this song, because when you have a chorus as important as This Ain't Havana, Do You Like Bananas, you really want to drive it home. So it's a minor song, but I get a major kick out of it. The next song is a remake of Rock and Roll High School, one of the greatest of all Ramones songs, which the band already did a version for the movie of the same name, for which they all should have won Oscars if you've never seen the film.
Hey, pizza! Great, let's dig in.
Yeah, I want some.
Oh, thanks.
How many times do I have to tell you? No pizza for you, Joey. More wheat German, riboflavin. Yeah, come on, Joey, eat good. See, I'm gonna eat some myself too. Work out.
This is probably the song, or one of the songs, that convinced Phil Spector that he should work with the Ramones, because it's right up his alley. This is a universal message of, you know, being stuck in class and wishing you were out cruising in your GTO looking for kicks. And that's something that any teenager can relate to, even a 59-year-old teenager like me, if you just substitute the school desk for the office desk. This kind of stuff never dies. Long live rock and roll. So the next to last song on the record is called All the Way, which was almost the album title. And it's just another fun punk rock song. It's not out to save the world. It's about being in the Ramones, and their longtime friend and tour manager, Monty Melnick, gets a mention. And it's a whole lot of fun. Nothing much more to say about it. One more song to go. Now, if there's any song on the record that's disappointing, it might be the last song, High Risk Insurance. It's an okay song. I think Dee wrote this as a self-deprecating joke about him being uninsurable or something like that. It's a little clunky, and it could have worked in the middle of the album somewhere, but it just doesn't seem to wrap up a record this conceptually rich, you know, on any kind of note of lasting whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, that's the last song. And that, dear multitudes, is the end of my review for End of the Century by the Ramones. It's a record that has a lot of nostalgic value for me. And although it's the least punk of their initial records, it was one of my gateways into punk. And it just makes me grin from ear to ear every time I listen to it. If this is a record that you've avoided because you heard it was, you know, soft or wimpy and, you know, not a great Ramones album, I urge you to give it a shot. If it's something you listened to a long time ago and decided that you didn't like it, in hindsight, you know, the Ramones have released a lot worse stuff, you know, towards the end of their career. So give it a second listening and see what you think now. I think it holds up. And I thank you for tuning in to the first episode of The Listening Room. I've got some other unheard, unloved, and underappreciated records to talk to you about. So hopefully I'll see you then. And until next time, gabba gabba hey, and adios amigos.
Those Ramones are peculiar. They're ugly.
ugly, ugly people.
This is Rock and Roll Radio. Stay tuned for more rock and roll.